I am writing this letter regarding the Chavez versus County of Santa Clara settlement, consent decree, and remedial plan. I am one of the many individuals who was interviewed by the prison law office when the class action was first filed. I have first-hand knowledge, experience, and witnessed the blatant abuse of the administration's authority. I've seen inmates being assaulted and been assaulted myself for standing up for my rights. I complained to Internal Affairs, but the agency investigating itself found its own agency justified in their actions. As a result of my actions as a whistleblower, I was antagonized, harassed, and disrespected. For example, I was placed in a section of the jail, 3 West Little Max. This particular cell is half the size of the other cells. I could literally touch both the walls if I spread my arms out, palms facing out. Next to me was a mentally ill patient who would flush his sheets, towels, and trash down the toilet in an effort to clog up the plumbing. This would cause neighboring toilets to overflow with raw sewage that would flood the cells and spill out on the tiers. The officers knew about the source of the problem, knew what the status of the inmate's condition was, and would intentionally house him next to inmates they had an axe to grind with. For 3 days straight, Friday to Sunday, the officers who had worked the floor left us in our cells with no means to clean this hazardous waste. Then they would feed us under these same conditions. They would not allow us to use the phones or provide us grievances to complain. Before I agreed to any settlement, consent decree, or remedial plan, I'd go check out who is housed in Little Max. And if anyone is placed there, they should be immediately rehoused. And these cells should be immediately condemned. I would take particular interest in those who have mental health issues out of concern for suicide. It should be noted there exists a cell in Ad Seg that has the same conditions as Little Max. If you're curious as to how the cells were cleaned up after all that human waste flowed through the area of Little Max, I'll tell you. But be forewarned, the details are not pleasant. After the 3rd day of sleeping and waking up with 2.5 inches of flood water, I had to use the toilet to pass a bowel. Each morning, the officer who passed out chow would ask if we had trash to throw out, and we would hand it out to him to throw out. This particular day, I defecated into a bag as the toilet was filled into the rim, and I was not going to hover over the toilet. When he picked up the trash, I firmly placed the bag of feces into his hand and told him, next time you open this tray slot, I will not be so kind as to politely hand you this bag. Now you have 2 options. You can go get us the supplies we need to clean up this mess and turn the water back on, or you could call all your friends and do a cell extraction. He used his wisdom and discretion and brought the supplies we needed, and he turned the water back on. I do not communicate this experience to you with bravado. I am ashamed. I feel humiliated and distressed. I was told initially the deadline for the response for this settlement was January 17th, 2019. I was aware of that deadline and failed to write in, not out of incompetence or anything of that nature, but out of the hurt and humiliation that writing in could conjure up. It wasn't until the writing of this letter that I understood the purpose of a victim impact statement. I understand now why victims are afraid to come forward, and when they finally do, they do so with the faith in a system that will bring them true justice. This means holding all those accountable, not just punished with a hefty fine and it's back to business as usual. That's a victimization of another order. In closing, I thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully.